Metaplanet just adopted their first AGM since adopting the Sailor strategy. And actually, the GetBase team was there in Japan, and the report back was it was the craziest Bitcoin meetup ever. Over 1,000 people in attendance, people driving 4+ hours from around Japan just to attend, and also special appearances from Michael Saylor, Eric Trump, and even our own Isabella Santos. So today I want to dive into the Japanese MicroStrategy copycat and see what we can learn about what the future of business is going to look like. Why are people buying these BTC yield instruments? What the heck even is BTC yield? But most importantly, is this what Satoshi had in mind for his sound money creation or an unintended consequence? Let's dive into it. First things first, I want to identify the differences between a normal AGM and what this Metaplanet AGM looks like. This Metaplanet AGM looks closer to like a Tesla AGM or someone who's got a cult following like Elon having an AGM for their public shareholders, where it turns into more of a meet and greet event than an actual, I want to vote for the business. For contrast, Bitcoin Well, public company, we have one person showing up to our AGM, and it's usually my mother. And so when you look here, when you consider there's 1,000 people voting on this, quarter century old business that all they've done is added Bitcoin to the balance sheet, I think it tells you that we're on to something special. The cultural movement, the cultural adoption behind Bitcoin is really special. And it won't surprise you to learn there was a pile of Bitcoin celebrities that were in attendance there.
Konnichiwa, Metaplanet shareholders. I'm so delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you today. We both view ourselves as being cheerful revolutionaries in the capital markets. Most conventional capital markets equities are valued based upon the promise of future money. But our company in Metaplanet, we're offering to be valued based upon the money we actually have. And the reason we can do it is because both companies have capitalized on non-toxic money. We've capitalized on Bitcoin, a capital asset which is appreciating faster than the cost of capital.
This is interesting. So here Saylor's talking about the difference of a corporation holding melting ice cubes, to borrow Jeff Booth and I'm sure many other people's analogies, versus being able to actually hold Bitcoin. And then I think even going further into ensuing that you can, issue equity or borrow money to buy a hard money asset. Basically summing it up in your debt is held and locked in a melting ice cube, goes to zero against Bitcoin, but you get to buy the asset that's there.
Every other company in the world is generally capitalized on sovereign debt or currencies that underperform the cost of capital. So I've had many great discussions with Simon, and he and I are on this journey together. It's a mission. It's a mission to deliver Bitcoin-backed securities to the world. And
Bitcoin-backed securities, I completely disagree with. And that's not what I'm interested in for this video. I'm more interested in understanding what is the consequence of sound money for businesses. Also in there was Issa's quick recap.
This is officially my first shareholder meeting that I'm...
This is wild, looking at all the people that are in attendance to listen to someone talk about Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Like, we're not launching robots, we're not launching self-driving cars or rockets or the next iPhone or anything like that. It's a balance sheet. It's a company holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Look at this crowd. You have Bitcoin swag and Bitcoin attention that this company is bringing. Once again, showing, I think, people are hungry for real money, hungry for something that's hard, but also, I think, showcasing the revolution that is about to come from adopting a Bitcoin standard. Basically, it's the Japanese Saylor strategy. And it seems to be all in the back of what Saylor calls BTC yield. Basically, if your Bitcoin or your sats per share go up, then your BTC yield is positive. This is a term that Saylor coined kind of last year, talking about how much sound money can you add to your business without negatively diluting your stock. Dilution is fine as long as you can add more Bitcoin for that dilution, with the thesis being, hey, dollars are going down. If I cannot dilute or dilute a little bit, but add Bitcoin so that I have more Bitcoin per share outstanding or future outstanding, And that's a positive. It's a win for everyone because the price of Bitcoin will go up indefinitely. And I think he's right. I think that if you look at what hyper Bitcoinization looks like, it's pricing things in sats or in Bitcoin. Your coffee's not priced in sats. Your house isn't priced in sats. Your efforts, your labor, your hourly wage isn't priced in sats. But, this Sailor strategy and now Metaplanet talking about BTC yield is effectively transitioning our brains, this like TradFi brain, to actually thinking about things relative to sats, relative to the price of Bitcoin and priced in Bitcoin. I don't have to share with you what MicroStrategy looks like, on a 5-year horizon, 3,000% over the last 5 years. Again, kind of 1 year after pricing themselves in Bitcoin, boom, number go up, insane hockey stick. But what I find interesting specifically about Metaplanet and MicroStrategy is how MicroStrategy, anyways, only recently outpaced their all-time high from the early 2000s. And if you adjust for inflation, it's not even close. And Metaplanet still, even after this 2,000% year-over-year gain, is not even close to covering their all-time high. Their all-time high is up at 485,000, I assume, yen per share. Now they're down to 5,000 after a 2,000% year-over-year increase. MicroStrategy, same thing. Their previous all-time high back in 2000 was $140 roughly. Now they've doubled that all time. But looking at the way and how these massive old businesses hit all-time highs, a quarter century ago, and what that can tell us about where the future of businesses are going. See, because what I can't figure out and kind of where I'm going with this is this the way that these old, massive, juggernaut-style businesses are going to start innovating? If you look at the last quarter century, you've got Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, these big, massive tech companies that found a new product market fit, innovated with R&D, and now are sitting on piles and piles and piles of cash. And what they've done with that cash in the past is opened up VC arms, basically gambling on a bunch of startups to see if that are or aren't relevant to core business, to see if they can outpace the price of inflation, melting ice cubes. Or they've done internal R&D, trying to innovate and create new product classes, basically taking what worked before, which is find a new product class, R&D, and ship it to customers and seeing if they can, guess right on what the market's going to look like, innovate fast enough, inside of this big conglomerate because they have more money, but obviously less speed, and then still appease shareholders on the vision of future growth. Meta being the obvious example of this, shifting from social media into metaverse, ditching a bunch of the metaverse talk and just sticking with communication, digital communications, if you will. Is this the new style of innovation for the balance sheet? You and I have benefited from an insane amount of R&D going into increasing the technology revolution. This is the technology age. We've got communication on our wrists. We've all heard the saying about the strongest computer in your pocket. We've been through that. And I think that companies have innovated. There's diminishing returns on the innovation of those things now. And so there's going to be a next wave of companies that come in and innovate and define the new product market classes, but I don't think it'll be these massive juggernaut codes. I don't think it'll be the Meta and the Apple and the Amazon and the Google that is innovating in those new spaces. But they have to find some place to put the money. And if they adopt this BTC yield strategy, maybe that's the better play. Maybe they look at Bitcoin with a 60% year-over-year return on a normalized basis, and they think, why would we hire? Why would we go through the pain of acquisition? Why would we go through the pain of change management? Why would we go through the pain of R&D? We've got a guaranteed return in Bitcoin. And we think about what you and I think about Bitcoin for. That's exactly it. We spend time earning dollars, earning value. We then take that value, spend what we need to live according to our lifestyle, and then save the excess in Bitcoin. And if you think about what a company is, effectively, they have to do the same thing. They have to spend time. In this case, they get to cheat and they get basically unlimited time in a day. You and I as individuals are locked to 24 hours, but they can pay money and get 48 hours. They can get 72 hours. They can get 10,000 man hours to a single, sun up to sundown day. So they spend their time, the company time, on products. They have then an income. They have to spend less than that income is in order to stay afloat, stay alive, and keep shareholders happy. And then afterwards, they have to save the excess. And previously, the savings have gone into R&D. But here, in a deflationary money environment, the savings can stay in Bitcoin. And the R&D only happens when you are absolutely sure about the future potential of the R&D. Now, There's schools of thoughts here. The communist thought, this like left-leaning liberal thought, is like, see, I told you deflationary money is bad. It prevents R&D. But I would actually argue that it levels the playing field for R&D, because you and I as individuals can enter a market without the threat of this, unlimited cash juggernaut R&Ding against us. Before, the individual had the power by being faster. We could ship fast and fail. We could fail fast and learn. And we didn't have to worry about, the corporate overlord, our PE firms, demanding returns down our throats. And that was an advantage for the individual. But then, with the fiat disease kind of being so bad, we're willing to overlook negative returns because they knew, hey, we got to put this money somewhere. We better just, throw a bunch of darts at a board and see what sticks. But with corporations cooling off, finding their product market fit, innovating in that niche, and then optimizing in that niche, hopefully and ideally giving optimal service at the lowest price, which in a deflationary environment, you'd think that it'd continue to happen, then you and I as an individual have the ability to find the next product market fit, the next asset class, the next product class that's going to be changing the game. And I kind of like that. I kind of like how there's this natural evolution of changeover happening through business. So what that means is probably smaller juggernaut corporations. I think we're, in a Bitcoin standard, I think we're done with the Apples, the Amazons, the Warren Buffett sitting on how many billions or trillions, hundreds of billions of dollars in cash. I think that is done on a Bitcoin standard because you won't be able to see these incredible outsized returns because you'll be gambling a lot less. And when you gamble less, you have more stability, which is kind of the deflationary money promise, more stability in the world. You have a better understanding of what you're doing. And hopefully, with that stability comes better products, better service, again, back to the individual, you and me. Is that a reality? Or is the world so addicted to yield? I mean, even looking at how we're looking at this BTC yield, can I increase Bitcoin on a relative basis to my shares? Are we so addicted to yield that it will encourage the hyper-Bitcoinization? Is this a Trojan horse, or will it prevent the eventual hyper-Bitcoinization? Is this going to create a glass ceiling for hyper-Bitcoinization? And then I want to hear from you. What is the future of business going to look like? Do you agree with me that you think corporations naturally get a little bit smaller with more diversification, more decentralization amongst kind of the big juggernaut businesses because we have a place to put the money? Or does this encourage the monopolization? Are we just in a space race right now where whoever stacks the most coins is going to be the juggernaut of the next generation? How will a business, whether it be yours or one that you might own as a shareholder, how do they change? How does the outcome of that business differ while adopting a Bitcoin standard? This is it for Future Proof today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. If you want to see the result of the Metaplanet shareholder meeting, please subscribe. The documentary will be coming in just a few weeks. And as always, stay sovereign.